Traditions, values, culture. These are the things that help us remember where we came from. It's time for Family Heritage Stories.
I'm Doug Jessop.
And I'm Nisha DeGaring, and welcome to Family Heritage Stories, where we talk about what makes us. Things like traditions, values, and culture.
How are these things passed down from generation to generation? Through deeds, through words, and through stories. Everyone has unique skills and interests. For example, I am not a painter, but how did you get into your occupation? With me today, Joe Dickinson. You've got a friend here with you. We might as well introduce him or her. Who do we have here?
This is Amelia. Amelia
Hello.
Earhart is her name.
Hello, Amelia.
She's a border collie.
Okay, so any particular reason why Amelia is here today?
Well, Amelia is my stock dog. She's my personal dog that I compete and trial in cattle herding.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You obviously, have done a lot with stock dogs, but I understand you also have a company that does training for pet dogs, I guess is the best way to put it.
That's really what I do full time. My stock dogs are my passion and something that I have had from the time I was 12, and all the kids are gone and got back into my roots, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But my passion is training people how to train their dogs.
Ah, okay, because the body language thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you had 3 tips that you could give people,
Yeah.
With their dogs, what would they be?
It's 3 really complex things that can be really simple. And the one is stop talking to your dog.
Okay, wait. Okay, you're supposed to give this dog commands and this and that. You're saying don't do that?
Don't do that.
Why?
Because our body language speaks to the dog much better than our words do.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2 feeds into the first one is consistency.
Yeah.
And staying consistent, our bodies can stay consistent because our bodies say yes and then we feel bad and then we don't follow through, so it kind of, they all feed into each other.
Little softy, it's like,
I would dare bet, Doug, that if your wife was not happy with you, you've disrupted something. She probably doesn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've thrown off
Yes.
the rhythm.
Well, let's put it this way. With this COVID thing, we have determined collectively that she is not ready for me to retire.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mess up her routine.
Right.
Right. And so what would tip number 3 be?
Tip number 3 would be to have expectations on your dog.
What do you mean?
We forget how amazing they are and how capable they are of specific things.
Okay.
You can be in a meeting and working from home and your dog is capable of laying on its bed for 4 hours.
Wow.
But we forget that they can do that.
Okay. Do you train children by chance?
People ask me that all the time.
It's like, I've seen plenty of kids roaming in Zoom calls just saying, you know who I'm talking about, Carolyn. Anyway.
We have 3 kids that made it to college, so that's,
Okay. All right.
we just trained them like dogs.
Yeah. Sometimes
Stop
you gotta do it.
talking, stay consistent, have expectations.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that you can teach this old dog some new tricks, so thank you. Is there advice on picking the right kind of dog for the right kind of family?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Just a quick little story, to start with. I had another border collie, and, I live in the city, and we're not on a ranch, and so he just couldn't live the city life. And so I ended up, he's working on a ranch in Texas full time. And so I had to find the right border collies that could live in the city, have a city life, and go to the country to work. So there's definitely things that you need to do. And the first thing is that you have to be selfish about what you can live with, meaning what does the dog look like? What kind of coat do you have? Do you want? What looks good to you?
Okay.
And I find that when we start there, it makes you a little uncomfortable because you're like, well, I shouldn't be judging that. But
Right.
you have to like this. And
Oh, yeah.
there's also the hair factor in the house. And,
Oh, yes.
you know, if you're going to walk out with white hair all over
Yeah.
or not. Or if there's allergies in the home.
Right, yeah,
of
because I
pets.
admit we did that in my family.
Yeah.
You know, we had the allergy thing, so
Yeah.
we needed to find somebody that didn't shed so much.
Right, right.
But, you know, and you hope that this animal is going to be with you for a long time. And so
yeah.
you do want to make that commitment.
Right.
Okay, so what would be the next
So
advice?
the next advice would be, you know, what size? Because you can get different looks in different sizes. Then I go through and talk to them about what their lifestyle is like. Are they neighborhood walkers? Are they hikers? Are they outdoors? Do they want an off-leash dog? If you're wanting an off-leash dog, probably not a husky.
Yeah.
Unless you're, you know, there's a lot
Unless
of time.
you can run
and
really, really fast.
Right,
Yeah.
right, you know. So there's activities. What is the family doing? And then what are the kids' involvement in the dog as well? And then at that point, we start looking at breeds. And then we start looking either into rescues or breeders, depending upon do they want to go the puppy route, do they want to go an adult route. But within that realm, you start picking out personalities.
Oh, yes.
And every dog has its own personality, just like human beings do. Yeah. So it's finding the right personality to fit into the rhythm of the household. That is something that I do for free for people.
Wow.
Because when you have the right dog, it's priceless.
Joe Dickinson, how do you want to leave your mark?
I would love it if every person learned the connection that I have with my dogs. It's pretty emotional for me.
Yeah.
These animals can take you through a lot in life, and if I can share that with everybody that I meet, get a dog.
Get a dog.
What was the first car you drove?
First time I drove a car, I was about 11 years old. I took it to go change water sprinklers, and it was my dad's. He had just finished restoring it. It was a 69 El Camino, beautiful metallic blue, and I misjudged the fence post and wiped out the entire right side of it. Yeah.
Dare I ask what your dad's reaction?
He's like, well, you're gonna have to fix it. And so he made me sand it down and help do the body work on it. And so it was, yeah. Well, I helped with it. He did most of it, but yeah, it could have been a lot worse. If it was my sister, because she was a lead foot and all over the place, it would have been worse, but I was the favorite. We all know I was the favorite.
You're watching Family Heritage Stories. We'll be right back.
ABBA's greatest hits.
Mamma mia, here I go again.
15 unforgettable tracks on one great album.
So when you hear me, darling, can't you hear me? S-O-N.
Including their very latest chartbuster, Fernando.
Stars were bright, Fernando.
From Waterloo to Fernando, ABBA's greatest hits, out now.
Get ready for the freewheeling sports.
Super trip board machines trucking through the night. The feeling is freewheeling. The feeling's dynamite. Feeling free. Feeling free. My freewheeling Ford is TNT.
Freewheeling means you can get options like panel interiors, special paint, trick wheels, and more from your Ford dealer.
My freewheeling Ford is TNT.
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it? I'm not gonna try it. You try it. I'm not gonna try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
When you bring life home, don't tell the kids it's one of those nutritional cereals you've been trying to get them to eat. You're the only one who has to know.
There is something so special about the bond between a grandchild and grandparent. So how would you answer the question? Tell me about your grandma or grandpa.
One grandmother.
Hey, tell me about it.
She was short, petite little woman and fiery and feisty, which, okay, that's where I come from, I guess. It's always the Hall Temper. That's my maiden name. But she was an awesome woman and had, I think, kind of a rough life.
Did you know any grandfathers?
I barely knew my grandfather because he lived quite a ways away. I did know my mother's grandfather, which is a very loving man and used to give us candy all the time.
Okay. So now, I want you to give me the name of one of your grandkids.
One of my grandkids, Revan.
Revan? Okay. We're going to put you in a time machine, okay? 10, 20, 30 years from now. We may or may not be here, but I got Revan standing right here. Say, hey, Revan, tell me about Grandma. How do you want to be remembered?
Revan is my pride and joy. Very close. Parents were divorced very young, and my son went to prison, so we had the grandchildren every weekend to try and keep that relationship going with them. And so grandkids can do no wrong. I just loved them. That was my job always, and I just enjoyed them, and they grew up to be beautiful individuals, and luckily they had a really good mother that raised them right and married a wonderful man. And as my granddaughter, I would say that she would say that we were very close. She's made me a great grandma, which was not cool. But this young, I'm too young to be a great grandma. But I talk to her almost every day still. She lives out of California, but I love her, and I think we'll always be close. I think
The last words that my grandfather said were, "Please remember me." This is Doug Jessop. It would be my honor to help you share your story with a private in-studio interview with a video for you to keep. Go to FamilyHeritageStories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview.
Everyone has unique skills and interests, so how did you get into your occupation?
Chris, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
How did you get into doing the song writing side of things?
It was always something that, growing up, I always had a song in the back of my head, and if I was listening to, let's say, my dad singing a song, I would just hear the melody, and I'd find myself coming up with my own words. And it just started that way. I would always write down lyrics, and I don't even know why I did, because at the time I never had written a full song when I was a kid, you know, but I would write down just lines that I really liked, and so later on in life that came into play.
Yeah. So do you remember the first full song that you wrote?
I do.
Tell me about it.
So it was kind of one of those broken-hearted love story things. I got stood up by a girl for a date, and I just couldn't understand why. And I came home, and I had a roommate that had a guitar, and that guitar was sitting in the corner. I walked in, and I saw it, and it was like there was this ray of light on the guitar. It's like, you have to pick me up. Yeah, literally. I was like, I heard this. And, so I went and picked the guitar up, and I just started strumming, and I wrote one line to this song, and I recorded it, and I thought, I liked that. I liked how it felt to write something, and from there I had a good friend that played the guitar really well, and we would always go over, and a big group of us would make up songs. So we'd sit in a circle, and one person would get one line, and then you'd pass it along. And that's kind of how I started singing in public, because before I was scared. I was a pretty shy kid growing up, and did not dare to sing in public until I got in that group of friends, and I was comfortable singing in a small group, and so started off that way. And I went to one of the friends I had in that group, and I said, "Hey, I've written this line to a song, and I want to finish it. Do you want to help me?" And so she's like, "Yeah, sing it to me." And I said, "Nope." No. Those were my inner thoughts and feelings, and I wasn't about to share them. So about a week of sitting on it, and finally I thought, you know what, I can do this. And so I went and I said, I'm ready to write the song.
Okay.
And so I sang her the song, and she listened to the melody and wrote some chords for it. And I finished the whole song that day.
Really?
Yep. And so I was like, all right,
Okay.
I like this. And so what happened from there is I had this song written and she knew it. And so every time that we would go anywhere as a group of friends, she would say, Chris has a song he's going to sing.
It's like nothing like putting you on the spot, right? Okay.
The first time I did it, I'm like, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm,
And finally, I did. And ended up week after week after week playing for my friends. And pretty soon they started really pushing me, you need to pursue this. And so I pursued it from there.
Do you start with the words and then the music, or vice versa, or how do those interact with each other?
A lot of times I'll be listening to somebody else's song or some random music and a line will pop into my head. And in those cases, sometimes you'd say the music started first. A lot of times I'll just be riding my horse and I'll have a line pop in my head. And from there, I feel like every phrase has a melody. You just have to find it. And so what I usually do is I'll just start singing and the melody's there. And then from there, I'll look at the chord structure that fits and go from there.
Wow. Every phrase has a melody.
I would say so.
You know, that sounds like it might be a name for a song. I'm just saying. It's like, So you do a lot of driving.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of vehicle do you drive?
I have a Ram truck.
And is that Ram truck, by chance, have four-wheel drive?
It does.
It does have four-wheel drive. Okay, so there is a song that you do called Four-Wheel Drive.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how in the world did you come up with that song?
It's actually based on my girlfriend.
Okay.
We were just kicking around stories, and I actually have another friend that has this story of when he met his wife. They went on their first date and they were at a steakhouse and she pulled out a pocket knife to cut her steak, and he instantly was like, that's my girl, I'm getting married. And so I told that story out in Nashville, and we just started laughing about it, and that girl sounds a little bit four-wheel drive. And anyway, we basically wrote around that. And my girlfriend one time, she sent me this video. She had a dishwasher that she had just bought, and she was going to put it in her house. And I wasn't there. I was working somewhere, and so I couldn't help her unload this dishwasher. And I said, how are you going to get that dishwasher out of the back of the truck? And pretty soon I get a video, and it's her pulling this dishwasher by herself out of the back of the truck. And I was like, man, she's four-wheel drive.
There you go. Okay, awesome. Very cool.
You are watching Family Heritage Stories.
There are reasons why people celebrate Swiss days or Day of the Dead. It's one word: culture.
If you need a cup of coffee or just to be where everybody knows your name, you need to go to Boston. Yes, the TV show Cheers was based on a real pub right here in Boston. Of course, Boston is more known for having tea parties in the harbor. Here's something you might not know. In addition to taking a number of boat tours and water taxis, the Boston Harbor Islands invite boaters to enjoy their harbor using their own vessels. Launch from downtown Boston or one of the several public boat ramps through the harbor. Boston is fantastic for history buffs. A number of historical sites, including Paul Revere's home, have been preserved, and there are markers to do a self-walking tour of other historical landmarks, including the Old North Church. Now, you've heard of this church. It's the one most commonly known as the first stop on Paul Revere's One If by Land, Two If by Sea midnight ride, where he instructed Boston patriots to hang 2 lanterns in the church's steeple. Now, I have to admit, the rebel in me thinks it's kind of fun to sit in a different seat each week in church just to mess with people, but apparently that would not work in the Old North Church. Apparently, pews have assigned seating. You can't go to Boston without taking in some fresh lobster and Boston cream pie. I mean, come on, Boston cream pie in Boston? My lobster was big enough that apparently they didn't trust me, and so they suggested I wear a bib. The highlight of our trip was whale watching. Now, don't forget your sunglasses, a light jacket, and of course, a hat. Now, here's a couple of interesting tips for whale watching, so we're going to take a little bit of time on this video. Shortly before whales come out of the water, they exhale and create what's called a bubble nest. For me, as the camera person, I'm trying to follow these things and catch this guy on camera. I found out that I needed to learn to follow the birds. They swarm above the water as the whales surface. See? Check this out. After a day of whale watching, don't forget, there's an active nightlife in Boston. You can go along for a midnight cruise, maybe a stroll along the harbor. Who knows? Dad joke alert. You just might find that you can get a lot of fun day trips right here.
Traditions, values, culture.
These stories deserve to be remembered with an in-studio interview.
We take out the bloopers, add in your pictures, and give you a digital video to keep.
For pricing and to schedule your interview with either me or Nisha, go to FamilyHeritageStories.com.
A little bit later in the show, we find out the story behind one of the treasures remembered here at Anthony's Fine Art and Antiques.
I'm here with Dr. Micah Christensen with Anthony's Fine Art. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous stained glass. Now, it looks like it's based on a famous painting.
That's right. Many people will be familiar with this image because it was based on a painting by the German artist Heinrich Hoffmann. This was made by Tiffany Studios in 1893 for the Danbury Baptist Church in Connecticut. It was made at the height of stained glass making in technique and quality in America by the greatest maker who arguably ever made work in stained glass. Because Tiffany hired some of the best makers and designers, technicians from around the world. Stained glass, it's a dangerous activity. It requires very high temperature and materials, and many of the materials that they were using to make the stained glass are now illegal to work with. So you've got heavy metals like this green, which is a derivative of copper, or the white, which is a derivative of lead. And what you would do is you would use the mordants, which just means it bites into the glass, like arsenic, like mercury, and they would be fired at very high temps. You wouldn't live to a good old age usually if you were making stained glass. There's real texture in this. That's called drapery glass, which is a technique introduced by Tiffany. Some of it stands as far as an inch away from the window itself.
From old paintings to new videos on your kids' devices, we're all trying to do one thing. We're trying to make a connection. It's the power of stories. How powerful are stories? We asked Maura.
It's priceless. It's priceless to me because when I was first sitting with the guys listening to their stories, it's something you just can't get back. And there's a lot of stories I wish I would have had recorded from my dad, my mom, my grandparents. So at least we were able to get these stories recorded. And to have them videoed and digitized is key, because the younger generation, you know, sitting with my nephews, doing homework with them over COVID, they weren't looking at books, they were looking at screens, and they can look at this on a screen.
I'm Doug Jessop.
And I'm Nisha Gehring. It would be our honor to help tell your family heritage story. Go to our website to schedule an in-studio interview on the Jessop's Journal TV set. Broadcast audio, video, and lighting are already set up to ensure quality control. All you need to do is come to our Salt Lake City studio and we'll do the rest. Our professional editing staff will take out bloopers and add your pictures to create a private digital video for your devices. Go to FamilyHeritageStories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview.
A little birdie tells me That Chris Peterson here, he's ram tough. Right? Yeah. Well, I'm pretty darn sure that this next song defines four-wheel drive in a slightly different way. Hint, there's a woman right over there. I'm pretty sure he's singing to her.
Yeah, them cowboy boots, dang right they fit her. Better than Cinderella's glass slipper, and she'll cuss your buddies and she'll quote the Bible. She's a real life, real tree, camouflage my hood. I want a woman that's four-wheel drive, the kind that's tough enough to keep me in line, but she's pretty as a pearl-handled 45. I want a woman that's four-wheel drive. Now she can chop wood, cinch a saddle. If you're ever up a creek, she can whittle out a paddle. When she holds that trigger, you bet she's gonna kill it. Then go and fry it up in a cast iron skillet. I want a woman that's four-wheel drive. Eat a fresh tomato straight off the vine, and then shoot me down with them 12-gauge eyes. I want a woman that's four-wheel drive. I want a woman that's four-wheel drive. A little mud on the fender, but she still shines with that well-built bumper, looking good from behind. I want a woman, I want a woman, I want a woman that's four-wheel drive. Got a pickup truck that's nicer than mine, and if it breaks down, she'll fix it up with baling twine. I want a woman that's four-wheel drive. So if you find one, boys, keep me in mind, 'cause I want a woman that's four-wheel drive.
What makes you smile? Spry Natural Xylitol gum makes me smile. I think it might help you too.
It's our honor to be able to help people remember where they came from.
If stories aren't passed down from generation to generation, the stories are lost, and it's as though those people never existed.
So how do you want to be remembered? With another episode of Family Heritage Stories, I'm Nisha DeGaring.
And I'm Doug Jessop.